My name is Jacob and welcome to another episode of the Jacob Cloete podcast. As you would remember, the Jacob Cloete podcast is a combination of raw and uncut and abrasive conversation. So it has now become one. So welcome to the Jacob Cloete podcast. In this episode, I am going to talk about race and politics. So I will give you an opportunity to exit this particular conversation. As you might see from the title, that this conversation is about the so-called Colored Lives Matter campaign. In addition to this, we're also going to talk about the Madlanga Commission. So you have a choice. You can either watch the one part, or you can watch both, or you can leave the conversation. But I would love you to stay with me and hear the conversation, because today I have a special guest. That special guest is longtime contributor Danielle Hoffmeester, and she is going to give her take on the whole Colored Lives Matter things. But I would like us to start a conversation where it recently started. So if you are aware and you're on social media, the algorithm might have taken you to a Lester Kivitz clip on YouTube, Instagram Reels, or even TikTok. So you might have come across this. If you haven't come across it, I would love you to do a search. You can do it on all social media platforms, and it's Lester Kivitz, Colored Lives Matter. Then you first listen to what Lester Kivitz has to say, and after that you come back to what me and Danielle is going to talk about. But what Lester Kivitz does, he gives a critique of the Colored Lives Matter movement that was spearheaded by Leon Jacobs and Gayton McKenzie's party, the Patriotic Alliance. And in this particular clip, Lester Kivitz points out the contradictions of the Colored Lives Matter campaign, especially when it comes to violence in these communities and the links of party leaders to gangsterism, or the alleged links to gangsterism. So this is what Lester Kivitz points out. So when I saw the clip, I went and I checked out the comments as usually, because the comments is where people have their say, and the comments was divided into two groups, the one for Lester Kivitz and other one for the Colored Lives Matter movement. Now, I have a specific problem with the Colored Lives Matter, and it has nothing to do with Lester Kivitz's critique. My critique stems from, it essentially comes from the United States as a Black Lives Matter movement, where the killing of black people is centered around police violence, where the state sponsors and responsible for the violence against black people in the United States. So from this arises a set of questions: is what is Gayton McKenzie, Liam Jacobs and the Patriotic Alliance trying to achieve? What are they trying to say about the Colored Lives Matter movement? Who is responsible in their minds for the violence of colored people in these particular communities? And to help me make sense of this particular set of questions that I had, I asked Danielle if she would join in this conversation and give me a different perspective, because sometimes I'm really strong and set in my ways. And one of the first questions I asked Danielle is, what does she make of this particular violence, and who does the PA like to blame for this particular violence? And this is Danielle's response.
I'm going to start off by saying that, in all fairness, the PA has problematized the conditions, or rather the systems that create the conditions for gangsterism to flourish. And they know what the list is. We know what the list is. It's poverty and unemployment. It's social neglect. It's a failing education system. And that's not to mention the historical contributors as well. But I think the issue is in their refusal to acknowledge that these very systems harm both Black and colored people. They frame systemic violence as something that uniquely affects colored people, and that's absolutely not true. Black South Africans face the same structural abandonment that colored South Africans do, often at a larger scale because of the demographic makeup of our country. And yet, Blackness isn't equated with gang violence, coloredness is. And the PA's rhetoric, I think, reinforces that caricature as opposed to disrupting it. There's also the credibility problem. The PA has been accused of receiving funds from drug traffickers and gang leaders and figures. The party itself is knee deep in allegations of criminality, with its own leaders implicated. Gayton himself has been involved in a bank robbery, and he thinks in his mind that he is now somehow, because of that, uniquely positioned to intervene in gang violence. And I'm not persuaded by that. I don't know. I think it's just a convenient redemption story that shields him from critique. Yeah. The exclusive focus on colored communities, I think, doesn't heal anything and just further entrenches divisions. And yeah, it isolates, or rather divorces, colored pain from Black pain, as if these two seemingly different things don't exist within the same context. The protest Colored Lives Matter, I think it's divisive, it's strategically shallow, it's ultimately counterproductive.
So, from Danielle's response, it is clear that she highlights the structural nature of violence, and especially its historical links that we cannot ignore. So, now if we look at gangsterism specifically in Cape Town, gangsterism arises from the destruction of neighborhoods and the racial classification, especially the group areas system. So we wouldn't have seen this type of violence if there wasn't a specific interference in racial project within the city of Cape Town. But not just in the city of Cape Town, you see it across most of the cities and places and towns throughout South Africa. So you see this racialized project, but then you also see that violence have shifted towards this specifically new race-based groups. So in Cape Town, you would find you have the Cape Flats, and the Cape Flats is divided into two racial groups. You have the Black part of it, and then you have the colored part of it. But if you go into these particular communities, then you would see that violence, it has a specific nature and character within those specific communities. So when we speak from a specific phenomenon like Liam Jacobs, the Patriotic Alliance and Gayton McKenzie's parties and followers, they don't understand that broader racial context and apartheid context in which violence and these neighborhoods were created. And the other thing, and this is the more interesting fact, is that gangsterism at one point in the city of Cape Town was used as a countermeasure against the liberation struggle, and especially the ANC. But there was also infiltration from the ANC side into this gang groups which supported their cause. So you can also think about gangsterism in Cape Town that has large historical links when it comes to the liberation movement. But that's a conversation for another day. What Danielle and I just want to point out is that when we think about this particular phenomenon that we see in Cape Town, then we have to think about the structural and the historical context. So the next question if we continue along this lines of that, we have these neighborhoods that was created, that is now colored neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, Indian and white neighborhoods. I ask her, is this colored on colored violence? Can we take it from that particular view? And this is Danielle's response.
So I have to be brutally clear here and say that I really don't appreciate the term colored on colored violence. It's very discomforting. I think it pathologizes an entire community of people and makes it sound as if colored people are somehow uniquely inclined to harm one another, as if this violence is somehow part of our culture or part of our DNA, and it's not. It's just violence, it's just crime. It happens because people are harmed by those closest to them, the same way it is in every other community across the world. Black people are mostly harmed by other Black people. White people are mostly harmed or experience violence by other white people. That's literally just how proximity works. And so when colored people experience violence from other colored people, it's not a special category. It's not colored on colored violence. It's just simple geography, not pathology. So the moment you call it colored on colored violence, I think that you are reframing what is essentially a structural issue as a kind of failing, a moral failing on the part of colored people, and starting the conversation is not about poverty or about unemployment or about under-resourced schools or addiction or displacement or any of those things. Now the rhetoric is, well, if colored people would just stop killing each other, it would go better for them, you know? And it's a cop-out, I think. It shifts blame away from the conditions onto the people who are trapped in the conditions. And that's not to excuse colored people either. A lot of the violence is internal and is perpetrated by us. And I'm not pretending that we don't have community level issues. We absolutely do. But I don't, sorry, my battery went. I don't want to exaggerate it as a unique racial defect. It's not. And in so doing, when we use the term colored on colored violence, it feels like we're doing that and we're letting the state off the hook. And I want to avoid that at all costs.
Danielle rightfully points out that this violence has two sides, and we have to look at that two sides if we want to make or have a broader understanding of the type of violence that we're seeing in these communities. So I'm not going to repeat what you're saying, but clearly there is a racial element to violence, and there is a racial project that is behind this particular type of violence that we see. So there is no colored on colored violence, there is no black on black violence, there is no white on white violence. Violence is created within a set of conditions. But what it importantly does is that it merges race and politics into one, and you start seeing a type of race-based politics. And that's my follow-up question to Danielle. Is race-based politics now the order of the day? Are we seeing it? Is this the future? And then I ask a question that I always wanted to ask. Is the PA, the Patriotic Alliance, slowly developing into AfriForum and Solidariteit? This is Danielle's response.
I think race-based politics have always been part of South Africa's reality. I think it would be absurd and also irresponsible to pretend otherwise. Given our very recent history, pretending to be colorblind is just another way of being blind to inequality. Our country is not racially homogenous. It is what it is. And so ignoring race would just be catastrophic for development. But the second part of your question is the idea of the PA becoming some kind of colored AfriForum or Solidariteit. I don't think that I'm persuaded of that as yet. Colored people, or colored communities rather, are politically fragmented and economically marginalized. We're not culturally homogenous or linguistically homogenous either. And so mobilizing us into a single ideological block is extremely difficult to do. And I think the PA and the NCC knows this. And also AfriForum and Solidariteit, they have something that the PA does not have, and that is deep, deep economical infrastructure. They have consolidated social capital. They have access to whiteness as a global hegemon. They can weaponize their wealth. They can litigate endlessly. They can build institutions. The PA, the NCC, they can't replicate that. They don't have the economic base. They don't have the cohesion. They don't have the international support. So at best, I think the PA might mimic the aesthetics of AfriForum and Solidariteit, but yeah, I don't think they do much else. They can engage in grievance policies, and they can do ethnic mobilization as far as they can, and they can weaponize that protect our people rhetoric. But yeah, symbolically imitating a giant like AfriForum or Solidariteit does not make you a giant. You're more like a blaster than the blueprint. I hope that makes sense.
So Danielle interestingly points out that there has always been a race element to politics in South Africa. So it's not something new, and that there was kind of a fairy tale that was given to us in 1994 with the first democratic elections, and the project that President Mandela started. In my upcoming book, Stories in a Belleville Taxi, of Stories in a Belleville Taxi, it's a book that was written in Afrikaans. It's now translated in English. So I think early next year, by February, March, the book will be available. And I touch on a number of these type of conversations that are here overheard in taxis, because in taxis you hear everything from gossip stories to preachers and sermons to party and violent stories. So you hear everything. That's where the underbelly of society intersects. All parts of society intersects at a taxi rank, and you will find within a taxi. So the last chapter of my upcoming book especially deals with that specific question. If there is this race-based politics that gave rise to 1994 and this idea of a rainbow nation, is there a solution? And if there is a solution, how do we get to the point where two conflicting parties are talking? How do we get the Patriotic Alliance to speak directly to the people who is responsible for the violence in the communities, but not just for the people in the community, the people who historically sponsored that violence? How can they help with that specific issues in our communities? And that's the final chapter of the book. And if you wonder what the name of the chapter is, in Afrikaans is it Kom ons lap die reënboog. In English it's translated Let's Patch the Rainbow. Rainbow referring to Nelson Mandela's Rainbow Nation. But I would like us to, just for a moment, shift the gears, shift the conversation away from Colored Life Matters and to the Madlanga Commission. Now, the reason why I would like us to talk about the Madlanga Commission is because phase 1 has been completed. Now, I haven't said anything about the Madlanga Commission or anybody's testimony, because that's not the type of person that I want. I would like to hear both accounts. So finally, I heard Minister Sengsim Kunu's account and the evidence that was given to the Madlanga Commission. And that for me was the final piece of the puzzle to kind of make up my own mind with regards to General Mkhwanazi's allegations on the 6th of July 2025. So I have my views now. I think, kind of an objective assessment given what was presented to the Madlanga Commission, but also to the ad hoc commission. So I have both of these in mind when I get to my conclusions. But this specific section is not about the ad hoc commission, but more about the Madlanga Commission. So I have 5 takeaways. So if you bear with me, let me start with those five takeaways. So takeaway number 1 is that General Mkhwanazi's allegations was correct. What transpired since the allegations is that everything that he said is confirmed. It's confirmed by Brian Mokgotsi, it's confirmed by Kat Matlala, it's confirmed by many of the other people on the fringes with that specific account. So now 2 things is currently at the commission, and one is, what do we make of the PKTT's disbandment? And the second thing is, was there kind of an improper motive by the minister? Was the minister influenced when he took that particular decision? So the one thing, and this is my specific conclusion, if we see everything that happened up until today, when you read this, then you would see that everything that General Mkhwanazi, the allegations, it is so far has been proven to be the truth. So I want to tip my hat to General Mkhwanazi, because it takes a brave person to do that, because we know just recently Witness D lost his life as a whistleblower and coming out, and even as a testament. So when General Mkhwanazi said on the 6th of July that he is prepared to lose his life for what he said, he knew the gravity of the threat that comes with his allegations and how far the rabbit hole goes. So General Mkhwanazi, I know you're not going to watch this, but if someone knows General Mkhwanazi, tell him I said thank you. We truly appreciate it. The people of South Africa appreciate you, and we thank you for that specific part. My condolences to the family of Witness D and all of the other people who have been killed and lost their lives in this current corruption. And let me leave it at corruption. This current corruption that is taking place within the criminal justice system. Now, talking about the criminal justice system, this criminal justice system is compromised. The police is compromised, justice is compromised. And there's intelligence, but I will get to intelligence now. Now, when the criminal justice system is compromised, there's clearly a threat on our democracy. And where politics exploit the weakness of a criminal justice system that is leaking and is operating outside the law, then we start seeing serious problems for a democracy. So I'm glad that we're at a point where we can look at this and start to fix it. Now, this brings me to politics. That's my second point. It's not only the ANC that is implicated by this type of politics and the things that is going. It came out, it's the ANC, it's the DA, and it's the NCCC. So it's not just the ANC that is guilty of what is currently happening. And I bet you, if we go deeper down the rabbit hole, then we will see more and more criminal links with specific political parties and how they are infiltrating politics, our governance systems, and it's eventually getting to the procurement system, our taxpayers' money, and completely corrupt the system. So this critique that it's only the ANC is corrupt, I feel it's unfair, but I believe that they is supposed to get the lion's share of the blame. It's within their ranks, they are the governing party, so there is some homework for them to do. They have to clean their ranks and see what is happening in between it. Whether that's too late, we will see in the future. So this brings me to the third point. So General Nkhonazi was right, so that's point number one. And it shows that there is weaknesses within the criminal justice system. The second point I'm trying to make is that politics is now involved in this type of weakness of the criminal justice system, which brings me to the third point, and I think this is the most important point, that there's a shadow networks of politics and intelligence currently operating in South Africa. It's not currently, but it's current in the democratic dispensation. It's current because it finally got to the surface. Now, we saw during the Madlanga Commission, there was already conversations that intelligence might be compromised by politics. With this particular Madlanga Commission, we see more and more that intelligence play an important role in shaping the politics of the day, giving information to specific actors within government. So if we start seeing this emergence of intelligence in politics, then we are slowly but surely moving to the days of apartheid. Now, I used the word current and I reiterated current. So it's not something current really, but it's currently visible. This issue where politics and intelligence, there's this shadow network where the two interact, started way back in apartheid, where you couldn't trust anyone within the ranks, and they were serving a specific force within the government. Back during apartheid, intelligence and politics served the Broederbond. Intelligence and politics currently, my question is, who are they serving in this current democratic dispensation? Who is the people benefiting from the shadow network between politics and intelligence in South Africa? If it benefited the Broederbond and they were largely responsible for keeping our apartheid system in place, who is it currently benefit? And I think that is where the inquiry is supposed to lead kind of investigations into it. But investigations is not going to do anything, because what's going to happen is that the intelligence will erase their traces, and you can see they already starts doing it. Now, if you wonder why I'm bringing up intelligence, if you must follow the complete testimonies of the Madlanga Commission, you must not just watch the clips on social media. You must watch the 12-hour long whole thing. Then you will come to the specific conclusion. I can't take you through this. So if you were wondering about intelligence, why I brought up intelligence in politics, it's there. It's even in the ad hoc committee, but I don't want to bring the ad hoc committee in this conversation. So we have to caution it, and this is where, if we do investigations, it might not yield the results. So the only solution that we have is to put firmer regulations in place to regulate our intelligence sector. We need to have intelligence. It's important for national security, but we need to regulate the relationship between political parties who eventually take government and make decisions, and the intelligence services of government. There is a convolution of the two, and that weakens our democracy. Now, coming to our democracy, and that's the fourth point. Our democracy is working. There's a lot of people who are negative. I'm not a negative person. We have the Madlanga Commission, we have the Zona Commission, we have all of these different commissions, and we have the type of evidence that is presented because our democratic mechanisms are working. And because they are working, we normal citizens like me and you watching this have access to this information, and it informs our next vote. It informs us petitions to Parliament to do certain things to strengthen our democracy. So this shows the democracy is working, but what we need to focus, and I think that's the 8 administrations focus, or maybe even the 7th, if you wonder why I'm talking about the 8th and the 7th administration. Senzum Kunu have been going on and on and on about the 7th administration, the 7th administration. Now, that is actually factually wrong. There is not just only 7 administrations in South Africa. South Africa's governance structure go much longer than just 1994, but that's a technical argument for another day. I don't want to get into this. But the 7th democratic administration, that is more right, that's more correct. So the 7th democratic administration might want to put stronger regulations in place between politics and the intelligence, so that we have a stronger democracy going forward. So parliamentarians, those who are watching, Liam, my bro, or Gayton, if you are watching, and even Fadil, strengthen the intelligence services, or are you guys benefiting or getting information from the intelligence services? I don't know. I'm just asking. If you really want to do something of democracy, those people that I've mentioned, please strengthen the regulation mechanisms when it comes to intelligence and politics. You would really do us middle class, petty bourgeois like me a favor in strengthening the democracy. Now finally, that's my final point, and I want to exit this episode on this positive note, that the Madlanga Commission is an expose of black excellence. There's a lot of negativity when it comes to commissions and their failures and their lacks, but every commission I've seen so far have done what they're supposed to do. What happened afterwards, that's up to the state, to the criminal justice system, to implement some of the recommendations what commissions put in front of it. But what I would like to highlight with this specific Madlanga Commission is the black excellence that we experience. I am proud of every black person that have either lead the evidence or were involved in the preparation of the cases, not cases, of the evidence, the preparation of the evidence that was presented for the commissioners, especially the commissioner, the chairperson, Madlanga. I'm extremely proud of it. It's well done. You can see it is a lot of hours that they put into that, and they know that the nation is watching. And as a black person myself in South Africa, I hope that many other black people are looking towards it and say that one day, if I get an opportunity to do such an important work where our democracy is on the line, especially because we're dealing with the criminal justice system, that I would be this good at my job. And the last interaction of the Madlanga Commission on Friday was that excellent point between two excellent senior counsel essays. Excellent. And I tip my hat to Advocate Sello for her intervention right at the end, because it was skillfully done to kind of clear Minister Senzo Mkunu's public image at that specific moment. But Advocate Sello, knowing where this is going, just allowing enough to get into future records and then intervene, for me is black excellence. But the rest of the commission, all of the other black commissioners, politically black people. So if you were thinking, why am I referring to myself as black? I'm one of those people who support the ideas of black consciousness and Steve Bantu Biko. So maybe you must read I Write What I Like. I think Liam must read that book. Liam Jacobs, I Write What I Like. Maybe we'll have different views on Colored Lives Matter. But people, I will leave you with that. This is another episode of the Jacob Cloete podcast. Until I see you again, may God bless you. And let's see what I come up with next. I don't know. I'm just hungry. I'm going to eat now. So bye-bye.